gotta be nobody else, just be yourself. When you look up in the mirror, I pray you see yourself. Pray you see your worth, and I pray you see some well. Wanna free yourself, gotta always be yourself. You ain't gotta be nobody else, just be yourself. When you look up in the mirror, I pray.
D-Rock. Alright, episode 4 of the Richard Pryor series. Sitting here with Deatra Neal. How you doing today?
Great.
All right. You are the president and the CEO of F.E.E.D.
F.E.E.D Worldwide.
Okay, and what does it stand for again?
F.E.E.D stands for Facilitate, Educate, Empower, and Develop.
Okay. Now, what does F.E.E.D do? What do y'all do?
F.E.E.D is a creative and social impact organization.
Okay.
It's a global organization, and what we do is facilitate workshop, training, summit, and training around the world. Our focus is women, youth, and marginalized communities.
Okay.
And so we really like to work with creative artists to show them that there's a pathway to financial success in their art.
Yeah, that's dope. That's very much needed, especially being an artist myself. I know it's like hard to like you say, converge those worlds together. Because as an artist, I know like when we think about art, we're not really necessarily thinking about money.
Exactly.
And when we think about money, we're not necessarily thinking about art. So we need people like you, to kind of bring it together in a real way.
Right.
So that's definitely dope. So let me see. Where do you come from again? Midwest, right?
I'm from Cincinnati.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, born and bred. Okay. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing and
Oh wow.
how was it coming up in Cincinnati?
I love the way we were raised. I'm the 7th of 9 children. My parents were married over 56 years. They recently passed 2018 in August, 12 days apart. So I think that was just indicative of their love and commitment to each other. But very close-knit family. Still, our siblings. My mother, in our house, it was a sin to argue.
Wow.
Like we could not fight and argue in the house.
That's dope.
We couldn't say shut up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
you said you couldn't say it?
No.
Wow.
Yeah, shut up was like a bad word.
Yeah.
But she really raised us to be just tight.
Right.
And outside the house, you can fight whoever you want, especially if they're coming after one of us. But, and then even in our community, we grew up in this community called Skyline Acres.
Okay.
And,
South.
it was a middle income neighborhood, but we had each other.
Right.
Neighbors were very tight. It was it was just a great way to grow up. You didn't have to lock your doors.
Yeah.
And at that time, looking back, you're like, man, we really didn't have a whole lot. But at the moment, it was like we had everything we needed.
Right.
So it was a cool way to grow up. In terms of school, we lived in a black neighborhood, and half of our neighborhood was bused to a white school, and that was our side. And so I was angry for a long time. And I was an athlete, so it kind of split up me playing with friends, and so and my mother was militant. She was. But she was very protective of us in that school system, which I think was very much needed.
Right.
We definitely came across racism, for sure.
That was my next question.
That was like, and I remember arguing with teachers about the Constitution, getting kicked out of the room. We were just those kids where we were even conscious back then. You know what I mean? And so throughout my education, I don't want to say I had a chip on my shoulder, but I was very aware and cognizant of racist behavior.
Right.
And so I could pinpoint it and I would call it out.
How was you able to like gain that clarity or that perspective of, you know?
I think it was our family. And this sounds so corny, but like we used to have debates in our house. Like I remember clearly we were debating like the Mike Tyson fight when he bit off Holyfield. You know, so we would have these discussions like around the table. So I just think it was the way that my parents raised us to be just aware. And my mother especially, because it was 6 boys. And the oldest is my sister, who she was gone already. Mm-hmm. So me and my younger sister, my mother, I think she really just wanted us to have a voice.
Yeah.
And so she encouraged us to like speak up, you know what I mean? And so I think
I'm the same way with my kids.
And especially growing up with 6 boys, you know, and all of them were like 6'4", you know, so they're big dudes. The presence is like very definitive, and so I think that was her way of having us to have our voice just in that space, which carried on.
You said you had a brother that always, you know, came to the rescue. Like, everybody knew, like, you know, don't play with you.
Yeah,
you know?
And it was all of them. Like we were walking in, like, oh, that's Belle's little sister. You know, the last name is Belle. And they're like, you know, you Belle's little sister. You know, so everybody knew like we was connected. Yeah. And they knew like, nah, we don't want to do that. Even like with my mother, like there was a pony keg in our neighborhood that was always robbed.
Wow.
And when my mother took
you
it over,
pony keg?
Yeah.
What is
pony keg? Like King Quick, like a Speedway or
gas station.
No, it was just like a food stop. I don't know what they call them down here. It's like a smaller QT without the gas station. It was just like a little. We call them pony kegs in the Midwest. But they were like places where you can go get like little staples for the house.
Okay.
Like a little
corner store type.
7-Eleven.
Okay.
You know. But no gas station. It was just the little pony keg thing. Yeah. I keep saying that, but.
Yeah, I get you.
But so it would always be robbed like daily, and then my mother took it over, and once my mother took it over, they knew not to touch that store. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're like,
not that.
Because my brothers let them know, like, my mother is in there, y'all don't touch that store. So, but it was like that. So it was a good upbringing, very fond memories, and again, I think that era, a lot of us were conscious. Yeah. You know, like when I first started college, that's when the apartheid thing. I'm like dating myself now, but that's when the apartheid thing was happening. And
now what was that? What's the apartheid?
That was Mandela and South Africa, depression and all of that.
Before he went to jail or after?
It was during.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we were wearing our little African red, green, and yellow shaped things and T-shirts and everything.
Culture.
Yeah. So it was, that's just how I grew up, and it's just continued, throughout my life.
So that's what I was going to ask you next. How do you feel like that shaped you to who you are now? Do you see any resemblances from back then to now? Like you can associate that with the past? Like that's where that comes from.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've changed much. It's funny because when my friends see me or, when we reconnect, they're like, damn, you still militant?
Yeah.
But I just, not militant, I just love my people, you know what I mean? And I've always been like outspoken. In college we started the first Black Student Union. Yeah. And I was the first queen on that court, when we started it. And, of course, people are like, why you have to start your own? But we knew then, it's like, if we don't start our own, we won't participate. Yeah. We won't have that experience, right? Because we'll always be left out. And I carried that even in corporate. I left corporate in 2012, but I was in corporate for like 20-something years. It was a hard journey for me.
How so?
Because I just can't be quiet. And you know what I mean? I can't go along to get along when I know that, it's wrong. Especially when they wanted me to do something to one of us. It's like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And it came to a head like when I left because I just refused to do some things. I refused to fire people because they were black. You know, and I knew what they were doing. I can, like I said, I can understand code.
Yeah.
I can hear you when you talk. You know, she's angry. Why is she so emotional? Yeah, but you the one using cuss words and, you know, throwing your hand on the table.
Right.
You know, I had a chair thrown at me in a conference room by this woman, English woman, like a little bit of woman. Everybody sat there, did nothing, and I'm looking at everybody, and it's CEOs, VPs, directors. And I'm sitting there looking at them like, surely they're gonna call security and get this woman up out of here.
Yeah.
Did nothing. So I got up, walked out. My boss follows me. He was like, man, you handled that so well. No, I didn't. But in order for me not to be carried up out of here, I knew I had to walk away. Right? And I told him, you all alone, because had that been me, this 5'10" black woman, throwing a chair up against the wall at this white woman,
police,
I would have been restrained. And so because I was so forced, and they were always like, why does everything have to be about race? Because of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what it is.
And I knew that, you know, and I remember him sitting me down and all of my review, and my one thing my mother always told me, she was like, you have to make sure your work is done. You know, that would earn you your right to speak in terms of they don't have that to use against you. And then my first mentor here when I moved, Rhonda Perkins, I got into it with my boss who was black, he was a black guy.
Okay.
And she told me, she used to call me Pocahontas. Like I had really long hair.
Yeah.
And she said, Pocahontas, let me tell you something. She said, make sure that you continue to work as hard as you do, because I don't think anybody gonna be able to control your mouth. And that's gonna get you in trouble, you know. But with that being said, it was like, I focused on being the best at my job. But again, that allowed me a little bit of wiggle room to stand in my purpose, you know what I'm saying? And stand in my integrity. And so it bought me a lot of time. But I remember the last review I had with my boss, he said, we can give you money. They didn't have any problems paying me. But he was like, we will not promote you. And that would have been an executive position with the planes and the bonuses, you know, all this other stuff. And I wasn't even buying for that. But when he told me that,
yeah, it made the light bulb go off.
I said, okay, I'm going after it now.
Yeah.
You gonna put in writing why I can't get it now.
Yeah.
And so I went on that campaign of, no, I want it now. And they did everything. And then he signed off on my vacation. It was my birthday. I was in Seattle. He called me on Friday. He said, we need you in the office on Monday. I was off for 2 weeks. Then he signed. I'm like, that's not happening.
Yeah.
He said, oh, so you're not coming in? No, I'm not. They shut all of my access down.
What you mean access to?
To the computers, the systems, everything.
Wow.
And called me back a couple hours later and was like, you're fired. I was like, okay. I got on the phone, called my attorney. Because I had already went to the EEOC because they were doing all kind of things.
A long way.
Yeah, and she was like, well, surely they would fire you.
Yeah, and sure enough.
And yeah, so I won that lawsuit. And that's when I left. I remember sitting at the mediation table with them in the state, because it was a privately held company. And the stakeholders were there. And I remember him coming to me and he said, we had no idea you were going through this. He was like, and we would like to offer you your job back. And I asked him, I said, is the C-suite going to be there? The CEO, the CIO, COO? He was like, yeah, they'll still be there. But we've talked. I was like, I don't need to work for them. That was my boss. I'm like, I'm not working for them no more.
Yeah.
And I told God then, I was like, if you allow me to get some money, I didn't even care about the amount. I'm like, just give me some money to sustain me. I'm not working for nobody else. That was it. And that was 2012, and I did not work for anybody else.
And that was gonna be, you know, I was gonna say, like, when you were talking about just your mouth, you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of us have that, you know, like, just passionate people that know what they're talking about, you know, understand their truth, understand their purpose. Like, how, and I remember you said something about purpose too, like, how important is it to, you know, staying in your purpose, even though you may lose an opportunity or money?
Yeah, I mean, that's key for us because we've been trained to believe we need that weekly check. We've been trained to believe like you gotta go work for somebody. And I'm not saying don't. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that. Because I had to work for somebody until I got to that point, right? But again, this is strategic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Passing through.
yeah, know that that's not your end game. You know what I mean? But I ain't gonna lie, my road was hard.
Yeah.
Harder than, and you know, I have a sister that's doing very, very well in corporate. But she knows that game. She knows how to play it. She knows her end game, and her path was different than mine. And what you was talking about in terms of speaking, let me tell you how. And I have a very deep spiritual connection to God. And for at least 8 years, I went into that office every day saying, Lord, I do not want to be here. Please show me how to get out. You know, that was my daily, not even knowing that it was really a prayer. It was just like me being sane. Going into the office like, Lord, I can't do this. Like, I have to find a way out. Like, this can't be my daily for years and years and years. When I tell you I hated it, I was good at what I did, but I hated it. I didn't want to be in that space with them.
I ran into somebody yesterday, and it was coming. It was a God moment, in my opinion. Like, I ran into this person like right at the moment where they were going through exactly what you're talking about right now. That moment where they had to go somewhere and like, you know, really recalibrate because of what had went on, and basically they said to me, this person said to me like, man, like, I don't feel like this is the place where I need to be. Like, they're talking to me crazy. Every time I try to like confront the people or the management or the people in power about it, they make more of an issue, you know? And like, so my question is like, since you've been through that, like, how would that affect, how staying in that situation after you've been treated a certain way, how does that affect a person? Like,
yeah, and ironically, that's part of my dissertation too, is the psychology, is the political psychology that I'm studying, but all that is how your experiences affect your state. And it's physical, it's emotional, it's everything, you know, it's your relationships, you know. And for us, and even like doing the research, you know, for my dissertation and going back in history, I have to stop. And even my dissertation chair told me last night, she said, as a white woman, Dr. Bam, but she was like, it's just unheard of just reading, and I know that didn't encapsulate everything. But I went from like the educational system, the political system, you know, the wealth gap, incarceration, you know what I'm saying? All of these social things that we have to carry. And you know, there is a study that is studying whether or not that pain is embedded in your DNA. Which makes sense.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
Because your DNA carries everything, right? So you think your emotion is tied to your brain, like all of you, right? And I can see how that is passed down. You know what I mean? But to answer your question more succinctly, it's we have to protect our psyche because we carry a lot. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. And that's another thing too that I try to impress on, especially young people. Detach yourself from stuff. Yeah. Like, don't get caught up in like, I gotta have this, that, and the other. Like, when I tell you, when I went through my divorce, God took me on a journey. Like, we had this big old house, and, you know, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. You know, divorce happens. I'm sitting there looking at my daughter who was like 2, sitting in this big old house. I'm looking at all these bills. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, why am I doing this? For who? Yeah. It ain't peace for me. And when I tell you, I live such a simple life. And it's so peaceful. It's So we have to like get out of our head what we need.
The less we need, better off we are.
Because we don't need much. And it will be so much less stress on you. And then you can navigate and choose more. When you have a big old mortgage, you know, you have car notes and all of this other stuff, that's pressure. So that's gonna determine whether or not you stay there and put up with stuff. You know, for me, again, like, I don't care. Like, I will live in a one room, whatever. To this day, I lease cars. I don't own a car. Like, you know, when they took the car off of the taxes, I'm like, well, what is the benefit of having a car then? And you know, like most people, like Jay-Z and all of them, they lease cars. They, you know, if the smart ones, they don't have 20 cars sitting in their driveway. Yeah. When they want to ride in a Bentley, they call Bentley, whatever. Okay, let me get me. You know what I'm saying? Right. Why pay for it? And it's gonna sit
and depreciate.
So we had to change our mentality about those things.
You think of, like you said, like people, like that's the reason why people stay in it. Like basically what you're saying is people like stay in non-conducive situations because of a bill.
Yeah, I mean,
to pay a bill.
But I get it, right? Because some people, I'm not saying that they're living lavishly, but some people have to pay their bills, and I've been there too. Right. We still have to eat and stuff.
But see, the bills that you're speaking to are like unnecessary bills.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like you need to check yourself, re-examine, and say, do I need these things? And is it worth me putting up with what I got to put up daily? Right. That's affecting not only my mental but my physical health. That manifests into high blood pressure and all kind of things. You know what I'm saying? And I would rather put money into great food so I ain't poisoning my body rather than eating fast food, but I'm driving this or I'm living here. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing all these other things. It's like sacrificing is okay to get to where you want to go. Right. You know.
You once said, I believe as we nurture creative artists for financial success, we will essentially grow economies and communities around the world. How does the success of local artists impact the community they come from?
I think it's huge because, one, it allows them to set that blueprint for the community, right? Because a lot of times, like I didn't see growing up like local artists making money. Right. You know what I mean? I saw them struggling. Yeah. You know, we appreciate them and love what they're doing, but we're like, I ain't doing that because you're broke. You know what I mean? So I think it festers a mentality of, wow, you talented and you making money? Right. Okay, why can't we do that? Exactly. Right? And if you look in history, like the Harlem Renaissance, of course, Tulsa, all of these successful Black enclaves, it started with creative minds and innovation. That's not far from music. That's not, you know, business creativity is not far from visual art. You know, it's still that innovative mind on how can we do things differently to get to the point where we're trying to get to. So I also try to instill in, especially young people, like, you have to think about creativity in a different way. And so creativity is that thought. Innovation is putting that into action, right, as the results. And so we have to think about those things. If you love baking, if you love computers, if you love whatever it is that you love, that's what we try to do, is to tell them, this is creative art. This is creativity. Right? And you can make a business out of that. And I think it's important to see those local artists in that community so people can see it working. You know?
Yeah, that's heavy. So, like, how can, like, for an artist that's not really like business minded or inclined, like, how can they go about, like, you know, stepping into that space of where they're actually thinking like that and moving like that?
So that's what we do, and we do it through our workshop trainings. The exciting thing
SCC, right? Is it SCC? The training?
Oh, C system.
C system.
Yes, okay. Yes. Good memory.
Yeah.
So the great thing is we're partnering with this LMS system.
Okay.
And so we're going to actually have some of that training online. And so and you'll actually be certified. So if like you want to be certified in business grant writing,
right,
or if you just want to take classes on business acumen, you know, like how to write proposals, you know, how to manage a bank account, you know, those type of things. So we're going to have all of that online now for our community to be able to access and take that training there.
Do you think enough artists are business minded?
You know, I would guess to say no, but I think that's shifting. You know, I think it's moving, and I think Prince really started a wave of that, like having people like really think about and acknowledging like ownership of things, and to start thinking about those things. I mean, Jay did it too, you know, so you had people out there doing it. But I think what Prince did was really significant, specifically in the music business. I think Tyler Perry is another example of doing it in the film business, but I don't know if people still look at that enough.
Nipsey Hussle, another one.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely,
Nipsey. Yes, absolutely, Nipsey. I think Nipsey is like, there's like a kinship because I felt like everything he was saying and doing.
We are,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we did.
So, I think he connected with a lot of people in that way. But and I just watched a video of Taraji Henson and T.I. and she was telling T.I. like how hard it is for her to raise money. And like all of these movies and stuff that she did, she's like, I'm nowhere near like Meryl Streep or, you know, all of these people. And I'm like, that woman has been in probably 100, 200 movies. Yeah. And she's still, and you know, even like with Chadwick Boseman, you know, for that man to die, and they said his estate was estimated at $12 million. I'm like, he should have made 20 for Black Panther.
Really?
But they didn't. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we need to understand the business and the game. And that's why I try to not hold on, but I'm trying to be strategic with my projects, because why would I just give it to a production company to make, you know, 70-80% of the profit? You know, if I can do it and make even 40% of the profit. Right. You know,
So what are projects like? I know I seen I know you showed me some animation project that you got going on. You want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I've been working on this project for probably 10 years. I have like a really dope French animator that's on the project.
And he definitely dope. And
it's different because the only other like independent animation project, feature film, was like Despicable Me, the first one.
So he worked on that.
So he worked on that. But Jacques Led did that movie low budget. It was like 30-40 million, which is extremely low for a feature film for animation.
I'm gonna wait like 30 million.
Yeah, but that success led him to sign with, I think, Paramount to do the other Despicable Me's. But you know, that first Despicable Me made $1 billion.
That's a crazy flip.
And so he has another production company that he does his independent projects with, but then the other like Despicable Me's he signed on to do with Paramount. So that was the mentality. It's like the Despicable Me model, which I call it, for my animation project. So we're trying to do it independently, get a distributor, and then go into theaters. So it's taking some time, but I'm okay with that.
What about I don't know if you want to talk about
So I have another reality show.
Right.
I just say that. I'm not gonna give too much away.
Right.
But yeah, I'm shooting that. And then I have a travel doc series.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say too much about that because
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one is like, that's like in the works too. So yeah, I do those projects, you know, as the opportunity comes up. Like, I'm not a filmmaker in terms of like, I'm doing this project, I'm going on to the next one. I'm going on, you know what I mean? So I do them because I love to do it. And then when opportunities come up, I just make it happen.
That was one of my questions. I was gonna say, do you do what you do for money?
I haven't done that since I left corporate. I can honestly say. And let me just say this, because I know it sounds glamorous, but even though I left corporate with a package, you know, it's still scary. It's still a challenge. Yeah, you know, and it wasn't like easy at any stretch of the imagination. And I will tell you, like the year in 2018 when my parents passed, where I lost both of my parents 12 days apart. I lost my nephew in between them, my great nephew. Then I lost my brother a couple months apart. So with all of those deaths, that was also my lowest point in terms of just my finances, like, and you know, it was just a bad period. And when I tell you, like, my spiritual journey, God was like, I got you, don't, you know, you. And I just heard a sermon the other day that said, you know, suffering is a part of life. You're not gonna get around it. But it's your spiritual journey with God that is gonna dictate the outcome of that.
Yeah.
And I was just hanging with him. When I tell you, and I was like, before this COVID thing, I self-isolated myself.
Yeah.
Like, it was deep. Like, I just went in a cocoon.
How important is that to like get that moment of however long you need to just like recalibrate with yourself?
When I was in it, I didn't even realize I was in it, coming out of it. You know what I'm saying?
It was getting good.
But it was so necessary. And then when the COVID hit, and I saw, you know, even my friends, everybody was like on edge and like, I can't do this. And I was like, this is a breeze for me. It was like God prepared me for all of that. Like now, it's like it means nothing.
Yeah.
You know, so it was, for me, it was God just preparing me for what is now. Like right now in this moment, it's like
He was already ready for it.
I'm out of that valley. You know what I'm saying? I'm like ascending. You know. And again, this is not like, I'm not talking finances. I'm just talking about
spirit,
everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my peace of mind, like everything is just like in a good spot. But I think I needed to go through that in order to prepare me for this time right now. Yeah.
I know, like I can agree to because I said exactly everything you said, like as it was going on. I'm like, they tripping, like everybody panicking, like y'all, man, like. So like my question is like, how did the people around, like the response of the pandemic from the people around you versus your preparation for this pandemic, you know, how did that make you see? Like, what did they give you any like different perspective on just life around you, like just looking at it? Because I know it did for me.
Yeah, I think, I mean, even like right before the pandemic happened, I think I saw clear. And I would tell you that I went through a time of flushing. Like relationships that I had for decades.
Yeah.
And it was, again, my prayer was like, I need to see people for who they are, Lord. Like, still, because I think we talked about this.
Yeah.
I am loyal to a fault. Like, if I say I got you, that's it. You can like write a check on that, right?
Yeah.
And it was becoming, it became a detriment to me, and so it was
because
like,
everybody's not the same.
And then what I realized is like, and this is again part of my upbringing, like we love hard. Like we, you know what I'm saying? If you're my friend, like, you know, it's just like, you know, we just them kind of people. And what I realized, even with my ex, some people don't know how to love, and they don't know how to receive it.
Yeah.
Right? And like, even after being divorced, we were still connected, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like God, and it was funny because after my mother passed, I heard her clearly. like, no.
This ain't it.
No. And she loved them, you know what I'm saying? But it was just like,
Yeah, that ain't for you though.
And it all came, when I tell you, God put it in my face like this.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, you know? And then, like, once I released that relationship and a few others, like my long-term business partner, when I tell you the floodgates was just like, and I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
It was like almost immediate. And then it was just like this peace, like I don't have that heaviness because I'm not carrying your load.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with your stuff, you know, because
yeah,
because I would carry it like a socket, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, because I got you, that means I got to carry your issues. And no, you don't. But it's taken me all of this time to realize that. So it's just taking that time for yourself,
right.
Spending that time with God. He will reveal like so much to you, you know, and it will become clear.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to get to that next point. You know what I mean?
You once told me about a famous hip hop artist. I ain't gonna say the name, but and you went to one of his conferences, and you was disappointed because you felt like he didn't provide, you know, any resources to the people. So how important is it for an artist to have access and resources, or access to resources?
I mean, that's key. But I would say this. It's not always that low-bearing fruit. You know what I mean? And if you focus on just the relationships and building relationships, like I've not chased anybody with a name, like nobody. And you know, I'm that person, like, and I don't know what is in me, but I don't want people to know, like,
What you really,
you know what I'm saying? Like if Puff is in the room, like I'm not gonna be, he won't know that I'm like, damn, he's like the bomb, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I like reserve that, and I like watch, I watch people. So I don't chase that, like, and I've been in a room with people, and I left. You know, I don't take no pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just, I don't know. I don't want it that way. So all of my relationships have come through people that know those people. So I like get connected with a person. We build a relationship, and then they're like, "Let me take you."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that kind of thing. Like I don't know if chasing it or chasing the people that you think you need, God will bring you the people that you need.
Exactly.
And it may not be the avenue, and it may not be the person.
Yeah.
You know? But the access and resources comes through relationship.
Right.
And stop discounting people. You don't know who people know.
Right.
That's the thing.
I just put a post up yesterday that said, you never know who has the power to bless you.
Right.
You know, you could be,
Exactly.
it could be the bum on the street, you know, that may know the richest man in
Exactly.
Babylon. You know?
Exactly.
So, yeah. That's key. They say entrepreneurship is a contact sport.
Yep. Now I'm telling you, people said about me, so man, she's nobody. Don't worry about it. She ain't nobody. All the time. That don't bother me because you don't know me.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? You have no idea who I am, and my relationship with God, because God opened up my doors.
Yeah,
you know
that's the real plug.
So right. So don't be dismayed and worried about that, and like I've been in Atlanta for I don't know how long, and I'm not in circles in Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like I don't get caught up in like I have to be here, or I have to know this person, or I have to do this, or what. You know what I mean? So just don't get caught up in all that hype. Focus on the relationships, building the relationships. You know, it's like building the walls, like one stone at a time. You know.
I believe the wealth is really the people instead of the paper. Like we chase the paper, but we really should chase the value in the people.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's when, like you said, everything will just come together like it's supposed to, instead of how you trying to force it.
Yeah. And if you look in history, like, I love history, but like those black enclaves that were doing well, that built wealth, it was all based on relationship. They all had each other's back, you know. So it's like,
why don't we have it now though? Like what
but
happened?
you look, you know, you look at, and I don't mean to take you off on a tangent, but if you look at like the thing with Cube, Ice Cube, the thing with 50 Cent, you know, Diddy's doing something,
I don't even care.
and it's just,
why they don't come together?
why don't y'all talk?
That's the first thing I thought when I seen Diddy put that interview up yesterday. I'm like, okay, but Ice Cube just did a whole.
But in Diddy's defense, and I was on my cohort's web. He does a web show too, and he always say I'm pro East Coast. It's not that, right?
Yeah.
But in Diddy's defense, Diddy has been doing this a minute.
Yeah.
And what I like about what he does is he's strategic, right? So if you look on his the New Black Party's website,
I haven't checked
he has researchers, he has policy people. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, he's doing it the right way, the smart way, because he knows that I don't know policy, right? So he's putting people in position. So I give him that, and he's been in it for a minute.
Right.
The issue that I have with Ice Cube is many. And most of it is, if you're gonna be for the people need to see you. Like, we need to know that you have been in the fight with us. Granted, like the thing with Jay-Z, right? Jay-Z is not out front, but Jay-Z, we've known for many years, he gonna be quiet and do what he needs to do, you know, for these things. Whether you agree or not, you know, so he's doing it his way, right? Fine. So what is Ice Cube's way, right? But you come out of the gate talking about you representing 40 million black people?
But I think we gotta, we seeing the position that we in and what we've been in, we have to kind of allow people to lead before we question their motives, and like we're questioning them and being speculative of things that have yet to even be revealed, and it'll slow us down.
Yeah, for me, I don't want you leading me. I don't want you speaking for me unless I know what you're doing. That's my point, right? And so people jump to his defense like, you know, he's cool, you know, Ice Cube. I don't care about his coolness. I don't care, like, he made F the police. I don't care about any of that stuff. What I care about, especially me being a policy person and doing the research, right, is how did you get to this point, and who are you talking to? How did you derive this plan that you put out for 40 million? This is a contract with Black America. You speaking for 40 million plus people that you ain't talked to.
But how could he? This is my question. How can he communicate that to the masses without revealing his whole hand?
No, I mean,
like at what point does the communication?
You do
stop,
what Biden,
you know, as far as
do what any other politician would do, and that's what I'm saying. What Diddy did, he put up a website with
everything on it.
Everything on it,
Okay.
even the people in their background.
So that's why you say it's strategic.
Yes.
Okay.
So my thing is, because listen to this. So Ice Cube put together the contract with Black people, Black America. Who was his advisors? Was it Steve Bannon? Was it his business partner that works with Steve Bannon and Trump? You understand what I mean? These things matter because, you know, we have been used as puppets for so long. So you have to reveal all of that, in my opinion, to me. If nobody else, I want to know.
Yeah.
Who you sitting down with? What is your character? What are you trying to do? Right? When you are going to the federal government to put in policies that's affecting us and generations to come, no, you gotta come with more than F the police. I'm sorry. You gotta come more with, you know, with I'm Cube and I'm making these movies and whatever, you know, and I'm fighting and I take pictures with Farrakhan or whatever. No, you need to come with what are you doing and who is advising you and what are you trying to do with these policies. It's much more, and people get mad like, you know, it's the cancel culture. I don't care what you call it, but these are our lives.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is our lives is driven by policy.
So would you that's key too. That's key. Would you say the Jay-Z situation that we was talking about before, about, you know, how he really didn't communicate what he was trying to do you think that's kind of tied in with what Cube is doing?
Yes, I was look, and anybody that knows me know. In terms of music, in terms of hip hop, I love Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I was so not with what he did with the NFL.
Yeah.
And
we talked about that.
I just wasn't, you know. And people get confused, like if you love their music or whatever, you can't challenge them with what they're doing.
I think, and I think this is the same thing I told you when we first talked about it. I think it's a certain demographic of people like myself that kind of come from a different realm where we don't really reveal what we do when we do it. So those people kind of get it in that way. But we get what get what you're saying as well.
I respect the fact that Jay and Beyonce and a lot of people do things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And what they were doing behind the scenes, I think, was warranted because it wasn't affecting the entire population of black people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They were strategically trying to, I'm saying when they were bailing out like the protesters and putting money towards the incarcerated people and
Ferguson
paying attorneys, like all that. He didn't need a buy-in from everybody to do that, right?
Right.
But when you're talking about policy that will affect generations, you need a buy-in. You need to let the people that you saying you represent. That's just like if Biden came out and was like, I ain't telling y'all nothing. Or Trump saying, even though Trump lying, he's saying what he's going to do because he owes that to the people, right?
But I think for me, it's like, I hear that, but I also hear all the times where people sit back and be like, where are the black men at? Ain't no black men doing anything. It's only the women on the front line. But it's like, as soon as a man step up and do something, it's like, all right, why you ain't talk to us? Why you? It's always something. But the man is leading. He's doing something.
But it's right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's no way around it. Like, how Ice Cube went about his announcement and what he's doing was wrong.
PR, they did PR.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, it was, I don't know. It's just like, how do you, and it's an ego thing to me. How do you, out of nowhere, now stand up for 40 million people? Just think about that.
But that's what we've been wanting, though. Somebody to stand up for us.
But can you tell us what you're doing? And not to say everybody's gonna follow you, right? But that's what I'm saying with Diddy. Everybody ain't backing what Diddy is doing.
Right.
I can appreciate and respect it because it's like, to me, he has a strategy and a plan. And then he's being upfront by putting that website up and showing you who the people are involved and what the plan is and what they're trying to do, right? You can agree with it or not, but at least it's out there. Just like when you go vote, they have a website, they're putting their plan out there, they're telling you this is what our strategic plan is, right? That's the way that it's handled.
Right.
But how do you, that's just like me.
Well, but they not politicians though either though.
But still, just think about it.
Right.
How would I look coming out saying, I devised a contract with Black America and I'm going to take this to Trump? And people looking at me like, who crowned you? Who are you? Just because you make millions of dollars and do movies and make records, don't make you the person to be in that position. And all I'm saying is, if he had came out and said, look, black people, we gonna do a webinar or summit online so I can talk to y'all and tell y'all what I'm planning on doing.
I don't think that would work. I don't.
What he did didn't work.
I like the move because I feel like it's an example set to what we should be doing. We need.
And did you see the plan?
No. Charlamagne spoke on certain things, but I didn't see it.
So, and that's another thing though. Like, it does not go far enough for a whole lot of us, right? And so then it can undermine like this whole movement with reparations. It can undermine a whole lot of other things. So to me, it was just.
But it also could be good for us. We don't know. That's the thing. Like, we don't know. But it's like when somebody say who crowned you, nobody had to crown me. I just sat back, and I think this is what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't think he wanted to do that. I don't think that was an ego thing. I think the energy that I got from him, and this is my opinion, I just feel like the energy that I got from him was like, why am I, the rapper, having to be this person? Nobody else is doing this.
But they are. Can you not go to your man? This is the thing.
Who brought a policy, a plan to both candidates for specifically black people? And from what Charlamagne was saying, it focused on a variety of different things, like denouncing the KKK as a threat, just certain things that basically all cook into the same pot of systematic oppression. He hit a lot of those things. He hit them all.
Denouncing the KKK. We don't need
that
to.
Is something.
No.
If you're not gonna call a criminal in our mind, it's like, okay, that means you don't really care about us.
But Trump can sit up and denounce the KKK all day long and then still go meet with them and support them.
No, I don't think he was talking about Trump. He was.
But I'm saying anybody. So we need to go beyond denouncing, right? And again, like, this is what I'm saying. If it's not a policy, it don't matter. That contract don't matter. It needs to turn into legislation, law. They have legislation on deck now in Virginia still that says you can kill slaves, or something. You know what I'm saying? There's all kind of bills on paper that if they wanted to, they can use that to do a whole lot of things.
And they've been doing it. That's crazy.
So my thing is, like, I don't care about no contract. I don't care if you take it to Biden or Trump and they say, yeah, we're going to implement every single thing. That means nothing until those things turn into law. And that is a process that you're going to need Congress. You know what I'm saying?
But you don't think his plan was basically trying to do that? Like, get them to make it as long?
This is my point. And again, I'm gonna say with Diddy, what he's doing means nothing. It's a show grab, even if he don't mean it to be, because it needs to be legislation. Right now, Trump can promise him anything. Trump can meet, and Trump knows that. They can meet with him till they blue in the face. It means nothing, nothing, nada. That's why Biden told him, hold on, let me get elected, because he know he can't do nothing. He can sit up there and lie to him and say, okay, I'm gonna implement every single thing on this paper. And whether he gets elected or not, it's not even up to him.
But what if they do it though? Like, what if they, all that said, what if they actually implement what he suggested?
Okay. Right.
So then what? He was still, I mean, with that still, like, he was still saying what
us that we know, like, that's not gonna happen. You can't even get the Black Caucus to agree on stimulus package for black people. So how in the hell? And this is what I'm saying about, but those policy people that Diddy has, that know Washington and know the game, they in his ear telling him that. I bet you.
I think to Cube's defense, I just don't really see, my experience with our people, I just don't really see us ever really agreeing on a policy. So I just feel like he probably got with a certain amount of people.
But why would, this is my thing with him. Diddy has been out there in the trenches. You know that. Even if you don't agree with him, why not go to him first and say, we stronger in numbers, right? And even that would have coalesced. I'm not gonna say, but it doesn't appear that way. But that would have been able to coalesce even the community a little bit better. You understand what I'm saying? Like, why is everybody taking this? And it's just like, this is what they've always wanted for us. The greatest,
What's that?
The chaos. The greatest fear, if you look in history, the greatest fear that America, meaning the government specifically, has feared about black people is coalition.
Yeah.
It's not like in the 20s, we've had 100, 200 millionaires. In the 20s, they never cared about single wealth, never. But as soon as they start building enclaves, in Chicago and Philadelphia. Seneca Village, which was Central Park,
Synagogue.
they used eminent domain to run them black people up out of there because they were thriving, they were doing well.
Yeah, I saw
Tulsa, Rosewood. It was the communities that they bombed. Black Panther Party, the reason why they were on the FBI list is because they were feeding the communities and strengthening the community.
United.
It wasn't Fred Hampton. It was what he was doing. So they never want to see. And then if you look in history, it's in documents. Look, y'all need to go to the archives in DC. From Johnson, Andrew Jackson, president way back then in the 1800s, they stated, it's in writing, the worst thing they can do is allow niggers to come together because they will overpower us. These are statements that are in documents.
And I'm gonna tell you a different perspective where I've seen that play out firsthand. In prison, they do the same thing in prison. Like if a group of us, you know, we all from the same town, all from the same neighborhood, they see us come together, like, yeah, you know, split up. You know, they'll come, you know, they'll come and split us all up and make sure that we don't really, you know, congregate like that.
That I'm telling y'all, if y'all just do a little bit of history, do a little bit of digging, but that has always been the issue, always. The reason why they didn't give us the 40 acres in the middle, you know, they took it back because they didn't want us, and they saw how you coming out of slavery with nothing, and you built these towns, and you know, you garnered this money and all of this stuff. Now suppose we give you access and resources. Like they said, the niggas will overpower us and take control. So many presidents have said that on paper, documented.
But to me, when I hear that just means it's gonna happen anyway. You know?
Well, I mean, it will. But we need to be strategic. That's why, again, like people laugh at this Black Party thing that Diddy's doing, whatever. I think it can be powerful. And I'm not saying I don't know like too much of the details, but just the notion of having that.
As like you got the Democrat, Republican, Black Party.
But so what people don't, so to me, what I see is it'll probably still be Democratic and Republican, right? But as a party, we can leverage our votes.
Yeah. Like I was saying,
as a
leverage
group
our
of people,
relationships.
then we can really say, look, we got X amount of people in this party, and if we don't get X, Y, Z, we ain't giving now our vote. That's how you use your vote.
Yeah, make them come to you.
Yeah. So I think that can be a powerful thing.
I feel like anytime you go in like asking for something, like you kind of lose your leverage.
That's what they want, and then they gonna give us crumbs. Here, we'll take that. We're gonna give you a little bit of this, but then you look and see what the Supreme Court is doing. They rolling back those voting rights, and you know, and if the Democrats don't go in there and stack the Supreme Court, our life as we know it is gonna be different. It will be different.
In what kind of way you think?
I mean, they will roll back Roe v. Wade. They gonna roll back the marriage
thing, right?
No, that's the abortion. That's the rights. Women have a right to abortions.
That's
and they probably do, but you know, with the school thing, I'm different because I'm anti-integration.
Yeah, I knew you was gonna say.
I think
the burning building, huh?
I just think if you look in history, like that has changed. Even now, with me in this terminal degree, when I tell you, if my mind wasn't as strong as it is, with all the things that has happened, it's a burden that we carry being integrated in the schools. It's a heavy burden, and people don't even realize it.
Can you speak? That's one of my questions too. Can you speak like a little bit about like some of the challenges that you face, like, you know, I mean, some of those burdens that you face, even as a woman, like as a Black woman, you know what I'm saying? But as a woman, I know it's different, you know. So can you kind of speak a little bit about some of those obstacles you face too? Yeah,
and it's like, you know, you go into it and you want to be a part of the team or the structure, the collective, and you want to participate and support your colleagues and all that stuff. And you know, just in this program, did the same thing. This white chick wanted me to partner with her to help the community. You know, I'm like a community advocate, right?
Yeah.
So when she said that, I was like, okay, cool. So, you know, sharing the information about my organization with her. Long story short, she takes my framework of my organization, builds hers, and this is how creative she is. My organization name is F.E.E.D, F-E-E-D,
Right.
for acronym. Hers is seed with an S. No lie. Yeah.
That's great.
No creativity. Use the words. Couldn't even. You know. Can you just switch up the summaries of and pages of what I gave? Just copy and paste kind of thing.
Wow.
You know. And then with the help of a faculty member at the school, took my framework to Belize, pitched it to the government, and secured a contract. So now y'all making money off of my creativity, my IP, and my organization.
That's great.
Took it through all the process for the university. They didn't see a thing wrong. Not one thing. Just switch that. Just imagine me going in taking this white woman's stuff. You know what I mean? And I never left my foot up from their neck, because every time I can, I'm reminding you all that this is what has taken place, right? But it was like a dismissal, like she's nobody, she's one student. You know, both of the girl and the faculty member both taught at the school, right? So they got to protect, you know, the university. Forget what's right? And this is a Christian university. You know, they have pages in the handbook about ethics and morals, and I threw it right back down their throats, right? Okay, so you're not upholding your ethics and your morals now? So this is just page filler. And I have all that in writing. But, you know, even if the results didn't turn out the way that I feel they should, you know. You know what I mean? You know now where I stand. And, you know, and we have a black dean who's a soror. But I tell people all the time, you know, this thing about diversity, you know, diversity is about numbers. And this is a very diverse program we have in numbers. But equity, there's no support. There's not support, there's no resources for us, you know what I mean? So those are the kind of burdens that we take on when we are in these spaces, whether it's in education, whether it's in corporate, whether it's in entertainment. You know, these are the rooms that we are in constantly, and the burdens that we have to take, the hits that we take. You know what I mean?
Silently.
Yeah, and it's stressful. It's a burden. Every day since then, every class that I sat in, it was like, it's just a heaviness. Like, you know, it's fraudulent. You know what I'm saying? It's a heavy thing to carry, and that's why we have to protect our mental.
and along that line, I heard you say IP. Can you explain like what IP is to the people that may be listening, and how important it is to retain the ownership of that?
Yeah, so if you're a writer, you can do a poor man's copyright, email it to yourself. But I would suggest going through the U.S. Copyright Office.
Email what to yourself?
Your idea.
Okay.
So I do that every time I get an idea in my head. I put it on my phone. I go to my email and I write the idea down and I email it to myself, because it's time stamped, right? And it gives you, they call it the poor man's copyright. But then I go and register. I register everything. If you're a writer, like with film and TV and stuff like that, you can do the WGA, the Writers Guild of America. You can register it there. I think it's maybe $20 now. But the Copyright Office of the U.S. Copyright Office, go to their website. You can do that online. I think it may be maybe $50.
Is it the same for trademarks too?
Trademarks are a little more expensive, and it's a little more in depth.
I'm saying as far as like the method of the copyright, like can you email?
Yeah, I would do that. But trademark, you would have to. And what I learned about trademark going through this thing with this chick is I don't have my organization's name or our logo trademark. But they give you, if you have used it a certain amount of time, it's automatically trademarked by use. So because my organization was in use for 5 years, that's already trademarked, technically.
But is it, because I went to a whole intellectual property class, and I remember they were saying like certain like methods like that, like the poor man way or whatever, it'll protect you, but to a certain extent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that the same as what you explained?
Yeah, and I'm saying do that because you'll have something until you can get it. Yeah, until you can get and if you have a good attorney, if you ever go through that process, that can be used. You know what I mean? It's just not as concrete as going through the process with the government.
Mm-hmm. And what is intellectual property? What is IP?
It's your creative thoughts and projects, or it could be writing, it could be visuals, it could be company name. It's what you create. And that's music.
Right.
It's whatever is created by you.
So, this is one of my favorite questions to ask anybody in the world. Are you rich before you get the money or after?
I'm rich in my spirit.
Mm.
And because I'm rich in my spirit, there's nothing that I can't get or get to in my time. You know what I mean? In due time. And I just learned that on my journey, of having all these years of chasing money. Then you get money, and then you just think, like, what is this? Like, what, and then I'm telling you, like, it really changed when my parents died, like, and then, you have to, like, disperse their stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, you really cannot take the stuff with you. So it's like, what are you valuing?
Yeah.
To me, that's what the richness is. And that's what I'm saying, like, relationships and, experiences and all of that stuff, I would say to invest in that. And then, like, right now, it's like, I'm really investing in, like, the next generation to make sure that they're good, I had that conversation with my daughter because her dad is in this, and I think it's his family. They believe, like, I struggled, you should struggle,
Wow.
And I'm just like, I never had, and I just looked at my parents who just always wanted better for us, and so, I want my daughter to learn and to, she's gonna have her hard knocks and all of that, but I'm here to make your journey easier. That's my thought, and so that's my mentality now.
Do you think, because I heard this before, like poverty mindsets are like passed down through families. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think it's culture too, and that's what I'm saying, like, in terms of mindset, is thinking about what you really value and what's important. Like, land is important.
Like buying land.
Like buying land.
Right.
Your home is important. Buying a house or whatever. Not buying a house that you can't afford.
Right.
Right. But I think those things are important. But I think when you don't have money, you think about all the things that you don't have, and like those things matter. You know what I mean? Those are the things, because you don't have it. That's what you are trying to get to, because you see people with it or whatever.
Right.
And I think that's the wrong mindset to have, right? It's more focusing on the needs and what those needs are, and getting a good idea of the difference between what you want and what you need. And what I found out is, like, we don't need much. We don't need much at all. Like, I used to shop, like, I mean, like, every day almost.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what I seen in the inside of a store like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, you just realize that it don't matter.
Yeah.
It really just does not matter. So, so I think the mindset is important, and that's why we try to feed, pun intended, that entrepreneurial mindset, right? And have that directed in a different way.
Now for, for people that's, because you come from, like you said, humble beginnings, like, for the people that's kind of still in that situation where they like, struggling to make ends meet, but they have like a certain passion and value about themselves. Like, what can you say to those people right now? Like, what's some of your best advice that you can give to them to, be able to reach whatever goal they may be after?
I think what I realized, and I'll say that I'm 53, and I feel like I'm just getting to that point of doing what I want to do.
Right.
So everybody's journey is different. You may see people, they're 20 and they're at that point where they feel like that's their purpose.
Yeah.
But you don't know what God has in store for their life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I look at like Chadwick Boseman and just reading his story, like this dude had only been acting for 6 years.
Wow.
Right? And he was in his 30s when he did 42. I think that was his first big movie or whatever.
That's crazy.
But I'm thinking like this dude has been in the business for like forever.
Yeah.
But he had been working. Yeah. And I read that he was in Brooklyn struggling, and doing theater stuff and whatever. Mm-hmm. But people often like they need the best thing you can do is focus on your journey. Mm-hmm. And have your relationship with God, because then He will guide you through whatever that is supposed to be. Everybody's not going to make their millions before they're 30.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you have that relationship, you confidence, and you stay steadfast, you good. I mean, I've been working on an animation project for 10 years. Like, I'm like, maybe it'll be made, maybe it won't, but I'm staying true to listening to God, what He has for me. And through that journey, like so many other different doors have opened, opportunities, you know what I'm saying? So don't focus on what you think or where you think you should be. Focus on like today, what you need to do, and to just stay connected to whatever that spirit, hopefully you have a spiritual, guidance that's taking you through it. But
what's a just for, I know a lot of people that may be listening don't really understand when people say God and spirit, as much as we may know, a lot of people don't really know. So like, what's in a brief summary, like what's a good generalization of like what is spirit?
Man, for me, I think about that often. Like I honestly, and this may sound corny, I don't know how people make it through the day without that. I couldn't, because I find myself throughout the day just like taking a moment. And for me, like I felt, because now I have a routine, like in the mornings, as soon as I get up, I do my meditation, I read, I just spend that time like what I'm supposed to be doing today. And I think people think like it's this like ghost or hear like this voice or whatever.
Really?
But I think it's just you know what I'm saying? You have this thing where you're like, you just know.
In that place, it's like you grounded right there.
And it's like I had this even growing up, like if I took something, like it would just be eating at me. Like, and I always felt, no, I'm not joking, that I would be the one to get caught. That's what stopped me from doing so much.
Me too.
Like, even drugs. I'm like, remember, I don't know if y'all remember Len Bias.
I heard
he had just got drafted to the NBA.
Yeah.
Never done drugs ever. The night he got drafted, went to a party, did cocaine, dropped dead. And I was like, that would be me. You know what I mean? So that would deter me from ever doing drugs. Because it was like, I always felt like I will be the one, to get caught or to drop dead or whatever. But what I found is like, that was that Holy Spirit in me. That was that discernment.
Yeah.
Like, this is not you.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, where I grew up, like my brothers would smoke weed in the house. Like some of my brothers was on heavy drugs. My neighbor, my best friend that I went to school with every morning, because I would drive, would smoke weed. Like I was around it all day, every day, and never touched it.
Yeah.
So that spirit thing is like, it's just a connectedness that you have. And for me, it's with Jesus. And I studied like Islam. I study all kinds of different religions, but for me, that's what spoke to me. But I respect, all religion. Yeah. But I just think if you have that center, then it's that guiding force for your life.
That's dope. Well, it wouldn't be right if I ain't bring a gift, Had to do that. I hope everything fit right.
Can I open it?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's dope.
Couple goodies in there.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
I can't think where that.
Starting to get a little cold.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I love sweatshirts.
Yeah.
Okay, that's dope.
And that's a medium. So
Okay, cool.
just let me know.
I will definitely wear this.
Appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you.
So this part of this the series, the show, I would say, is a segment I got called Richer Priorities. So basically, I just want you to explain like 3 things that are like more valuable to you and more of a priority to you than money, and why.
As I just spoke about my relationship with God, or my spiritual connection. And I say that in terms of like the time that I spend. So I make sure, like I said, I spend that time.
Right.
So that's key for me.
Right.
Of course, my child, who, it's just, she's dope. So.
South.
Jada Boo.
Yeah.
And friends and family. Again, I think because I grew up in a tribe, so to speak,
Right.
I just like that connection with
Right.
people. And it's all over the world.
Yeah.
But I like building relationships. I love hanging out with friends and family. Like, if I had that,
You a Cancer, right?
Gemini.
Okay. I'll try to.
My daughter is a Gemini, Cancer.
That's
Your birthdays are
Cancer.
What's your-
22nd.
Same day.
Yeah.
Same day as Jada's. Yeah. She has a big heart. You do too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Big heart. Stubborn.
Yeah, most definitely.
Whew.
Most definitely.
Jesus, her and my mama.
But you gotta have you gotta have that, like they say, that backbone. You gotta kind of have that foot, in the sand where it's like, nah.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a big heart. You kind of tend to, you gotta just know your limits. You gotta know where you start and stop.
Yeah. And I'm still working on that with her with people, because it's like, I tell her every bum and vagabond she finds. It's like a magnet. It's
where did you get them at?
Yeah. I was like, girl. She's like, but they don't have anything. Their appearances. I'm like, but that's not your worry. You know what I mean? But yeah.
So what's next for you in F.E.E.D?
So I'm working on my dissertation, so I'll be Deatra Neal.
What is a dissertation? Because I don't know.
So dissertation is a summation of your studies for your doctorate, and it's so you do a research study on something. And it's typically just to show that you know how to research.
Okay.
And mine is on race and political psychology.
Well, that's right up your alley. That's right up your alley.
Everything I wrote about in this program had to do with race.
Yeah.
But that's who I am. But and then F.E.E.D. So we had some really huge partnerships this year. We're gonna extend that out. Looking to go to Congo. Oh, and I have to tell you real quick.
Yeah.
So I did my genealogy.
Okay.
And so I'm like 30% Nigerian, which I knew. Yes, talking about stubborn. But 30% Nigerian, then 20% Mali. Really? And then
Mali, Cameroon, and then Bantu.
Congo. Me too. We're related. We are related. But then I had like the Netherlands, Scotland.
I got
I
Wales.
was like,
Started getting a little.
But then I had the native Southern, South Americans, and I think that was my grandmother who was Indian. I think that was they migrated down. But very interesting. So then I'm doing the African ancestry, because I want to know the tribes. So
That's dope.
but yeah. So anyway, so F.E.E.D would be in Congo. I'm hoping, to go to Ghana as well. But we'll be continuing on with training and doing that. And then I had the projects I'm working on.
That's right. That's
So
right.
we have to pull you in, maybe do some music for us.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Anytime. So how can people like stay in contact with you, connect with you? Where can they find you?
Deatra, Deatra Neal on all social platforms and LinkedIn. And then feedworldwide.org for the company.
Well, that's right. Well, this was Richard Pryor, episode 4 with Deatra Neal. You know, hope everybody learned something, took something with them that they can gain and benefit from. And you know, I appreciate you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. I know
Thank
you're gonna do amazing things.
Thank you.
So yeah,
Thank
I'm glad to be here.
I appreciate it.